So we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show. And we've been full on this week. We had some amazing speakers on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And today again, we have a special with a very inspiring lady today, and she's gonna, talk to us about her story, and she's also published a book, and about her story, and we'll get to know how she managed to go through all those challenges that she had to go through during her life. And I'm really sure that you're going to be inspired, because as usual, I bring you the best. I bring you people who have triumph from great obstacle, great challenges, and people who are winners and champion. And again today we have a great champion. Her name is Dana Priyanka Hammond. She's actually been kidnapped and trafficked as a child, and she's gonna talk about it a little bit more in detail during our conversation. And as a result of that, she's been on a mission to end human trafficking. And right now, doing, she's working as a mental health paraprofessional. And on top of that, she's an Amazon bestseller author. She's co-author a book called Tear or Veil. And she's also working, or she's about to publish a book on her story. And the name of the book is Abandoned but Not Forgotten. And she's also a speaker, so she speaks about human trafficking and sharing a story. So really, making sure that whatever she's gone through, everybody who's actually in the same situation can learn from it and can find a solution to their problem. So without, further, make you wait, just coming, make sure that you have your pen, you have your notebook, and get ready to be inspired by Priyanka. So let's start our discussion with Priyanka today.
But as I got older, I started to be more aware of some of the abusive sides of
Good morning, Priyanka. How are you? Welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour. I'm just so excited to listen to you today, to listen to your story, but also to know, what you're up to, and looking for some inspiration today, I must say. So welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So where should I begin? I mean, there's a lot to start from.
And that's what I was really getting eager to really start. I ask you to introduce yourself and to make sure that you tell us what are the key point in your life, because you're not going to be able to talk about everything, but at least if you can talk about the key moment in your life and what actually helped you to become the person that you are, it's going to be amazing.
Right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Priyanka Hammond, and I am an author of Abandoned But Not Forgotten, that is released. And you can find it on humantraffickinginc.com as well as DanaPriyankaHammond.com. You can purchase it as and then you can also get your educational know about from humantraffickinginc.com and get the help that you need from either or website. I do have links in there for you to reach out to certain people, certain programs, if you do feel that you have been victim of human trafficking.
So before we go there, I mean, can you explain to us, because you've obviously been trafficked, and it was not actually, it didn't happen in the US where you're located right now. It happened somewhere else. So can you tell us a little bit, I mean, about what you know and what have been really, the key thing that helped you to get out of it, if I can express myself this way?
Well, honestly, it wasn't something that I knew how to get out of it, because I was 4 years old and it just happened to me. It wasn't by choice that I was abducted and from my family and taken away. And it wasn't by choice that I was abducted to be taken away for human trafficking. But whatever, it was by grace, God's grace, that I was rescued and I was saved. So whatever the circumstance was, it was very frightening as a 4-year-old, especially since it was out of my control. And at the age of 4, I couldn't make any decisions of my own anyways. And not knowing even from my standpoint of what was taking place, it was a very frightening situation for me. So thank God that I made it from over there, which was in India. I was abducted from my family and placed in a burlap rice sack to be carried away to God knows where, and just to be coming to America and enduring abuse, and it just to overcome the circumstance of being a strong woman that I am today.
And it's hard because as a young child, you actually don't know what's going on. So for you, it might actually become normal in a way, even if it's hard. So what were the emotion and the feelings growing up? Obviously, you went through all of this. You end up in the US. So at what age actually did you arrive in the US? If you remember, you don't remember exactly.
I was 8 years old. I arrived in America. So I was abducted at the age of 4. So from 4 to 8, I was still in India.
So you got adopted, and then in India, stayed in India, and then you traveled to the US, as at least they send you to the US at the 8-year-old. So what happened when you how did people find out about you being trafficked, and what happened after that? Did you get some help, or what was the process?
I was actually found by the train station cop at the Pune, India, at the railroad And from my understanding, he brought me to the orphanage, but I'm not even sure what is the complete full story. Because they could have been in on it, and I believe there's such thing called adoption trafficking. So they hire people to go out in the street to abduct little children from their families. So I don't quite know exactly what my full story is until I go on a journey to finding my birth parents, which I am trying to do that right now. But because of the COVID, it's been on sitting still. So all I can do is show up on news media and put my voice out there and just really mention about I'm looking for my birth family.
But how do you, I mean, what is going on in your head, knowing that there's part of your history missing, and how do you build yourself from that? Because you're now a mom, and how do you build, yourself? How did you strengthen yourself to be able to stay strong and to be able to keep going and to finally, start a family and become a mom?
It really took tenacity and strength from just that. I had to finally forgive myself. I had to forgive my past in order to move forward. I had to accept my life for what it is until and build it. I had to build it, and in order to get to where I am at now, to finally go on the journey of saying, hey, I went through the healing process in my life to accept where I'm at. And I can't change my past, but I'm able to change my future by now going through the healing journey to then being now ready to go on a search and journey to finding my birth family. So I know that it's not all their fault, and because I know that, I'm ready to find them. I'm ready to find out the full story, understand coming from their end. Even if it was their fault, I'm not going to sit there and not forgive them, because that's my bloodline. I understand the concept of forgiveness, and that's part of where my healing journey began, is forgiving myself, forgiving them, and knowing for the fact that it wasn't my fault, and it wasn't by my choice that I went through what I went through. But I thank God that I am living and breathing, so I can be in my journey of looking for who they are and what my past, what my culture background is, and finding out who Dana is even more. And that's what makes it even more exciting as an adult now, because I'm able to go forward and figure out the mysteries of my life, and put the missing puzzles back together to make me whole again.
And that's amazing, because you just described a process. So it all starts with forgiveness, and first forgiveness, of yourself, even if you're not responsible, but it just helps you to take the next step and to move forward. So forgiveness, or you forgive yourself, and then you also, the next step is to forgive your parents that you don't know, but at least it helps you to see things from a different perspective and move forward, if you know that you stay stuck in a way where you are, and there's actually no future for you. So that's really powerful to understand, because sometimes we those are simple things that we don't understand. I mean, when something happened to you, you tend to think that, okay, I'm not responsible, so I have nothing to forgive to myself. And yet that's what's going to free you going forward. So let's have, a break. This is becoming very powerful in terms of, and let's have a break and come back to continue our conversation, this deep conversation. And for those who are joining us today, My guest is Priyanka. Priyanka we're focusing on a story on human trafficking, and we're also going to talk about her book, and she'll be able to give us some details, but not all the detail, because we want you to buy the book, obviously, and but at least give us an idea of what it's all about. But don't go anywhere. We're gonna be back.
They took me from my home when I was 6 years old. I was taken to another country. They forced me and other kids to go out at night and beg for money. If I didn't bring back enough, they would beat me and send me back to get more. I wanted to run away, but I did not know how. I couldn't speak the language. I was afraid to ask anyone for help. The other trafficked children were whispering to one another, "There's a place called Zoe, and if you get there, you'll be safe." They said that Zoe was looking for kids just like us. I thought it was just a fairy tale, something other kids dreamed up in their imagination. I didn't believe Zoe was a real place. But at night I would look up in the sky and dream about it, and it gave me comfort. When I was 13 years old, I knew I had to escape. I just didn't know where to go. And then one night, my trafficker told me to stay away from an area of the city because the police would be there. He always lied to us and told us that they would hurt us and throw us in jail. I wondered, what if it is not true? What if the police can help me? And what if Zoe is there too? I made a decision that I was going to run for it. But before I left, I promised my friend that if it was true, if Zoe was real, I would come back for her. As I rode away, all I could remember was the last time I disobeyed. He had beat me, then grabbed me, lifted me up, and smashed me against the ground. I can still feel the blood as it flowed down my face. I was so scared. I had to get there. And I kept my promise. After months of searching, Zoe rescued my friend too.
So we are back. We are back with Priyanka, and we're focusing on her story on human trafficking. And Priyanka, just wanted to ask you, I mean, following the video, just wanted to ask you, what were the emotions, because you see this young lady talk about a lot of fear. So what were the emotions that, you had to go through, not only when you were still in captivity, if I can, and I can express myself like that. And then after, because how do you actually recover from, such an experience, a traumatic experience?
I was relieved. I just knew that I was going to be fine. You can tell. You can tell when somebody's there with you or somebody's not. And I was, it's just knowing for the fact, even seeing that episode, or it brings back how much I want to be reunited with my family again because of it being an unfortunate situation and not knowing what they could possibly feel or what they've been going through. I know what I've been going through, and was a lot of the things that I experienced was regret and pain and heartache, and just it's been because from that beginning to what I experienced in America is just was one thing after another. And I can just tell you, it was a lot of emotions that flood inside of me, a lot of where I just wish time could just turn back. And I just wish that that it didn't happen to me. And the very thought of just, I feel like it triggered me when I just saw that episode or that clip, because the very thought of that happening to me too, and that experience is alive. It still awakens inside of me. And sometimes I just want to block it off. But I'm glad that I am okay today to be able to turn back around and go on a journey to even be whole again, and to even get that restoration that I've been longing for, to understand my complete background, even in certain places that's been a mystery for me. It's just been a hard journey for me, very hard journey from the time when I was abducted and feeling very scared, not knowing what was getting ready to happen, and my destiny being chosen for me. And it wasn't a good destiny. And but then here I am, being reminded every day that I have a purpose in life, and that's why I'm still living and breathing. I have a future and I have a hope, as well as an expected end. And this expected end is going to be greater than anything that I've ever experienced before. Even the abuse, going from being trafficked to the abuse here in America, that is, my past does not determine my future.
And that's powerful. My past doesn't determine my future. And you're right. You have to, the past is the past, and you have to look at how you can, capitalize on this past, even if it's, something very difficult, something very traumatic. You always have to look at, what can I do? What can, I do with that? Because, I went through it. There's a reason for it. And I'm happy that, you're talking about your purpose. It means that now you understand why you went through all of this. There was a purpose. And which lead me to my question, how do you use now, this experience that you had, this traumatic experience, to help over, or to create a positive impact that actually, that's actually building on what you went through?
How I'm doing it is by telling my story. I released my book, Abandoned But Not Forgotten, to tell my story. And I have also shared that these are some of the things that trafficked people go through, is they're forced to beg for money. They're forced to give sex. They're forced to give work for labor, and it's just there's so many ways that they use children for commodity, and they're forced to being thrown in adoption system that could potentially fail them, because not all adoption is successful, and mine happens to be unsuccessful. And I just think that there was reasons where it was because I was an easy tax money, for my adoptive parents. And the neglect that I experienced and the abuse that I experienced, that just made it even worse. And I think the rejection and abandonment became even stronger and started because of that. It was one trauma after another trauma experience that caused me to oftentimes give up and become suicidal. But then there was something even more stronger inside of me that said no. And it was more fear to destroy my life than it was to live. And because I was so afraid to destroy my life, I had to live. I had to breathe. I didn't know how I was going to claw my way out, but I did it by just doing one step at a time. But first I had to discover who I was and find out my purpose and find out my identity first, since I was so lost in my identity.
And just to know, I mean, is there a particular process that you think that you went through? Because obviously now you're involved with people who have trauma and mental health. So is there a particular process that you think you follow that actually help you to get to manage the trauma or to get out of this trauma? Because it's always, there's, I can assume that there are flashbacks sometime coming back. So is there something that you want to tell us about, the process in a way that on your purpose and to stay focused on the fact that, you had to leave because there was no option for you?
Right. Honestly, be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Seek for help, whether it's a psychiatrist, a counselor, a therapist. Seek for help, because there are different levels of counseling, different levels of therapy, and get the proper medication, get the proper help that you need. Because even if trauma creates PTSD will not ever go away, because you will have those trigger points. And in order to control that, because that creates anxiety, you may need a little help, and that could be from a little bit of medication. And so that way you can be stress-free and be level-headed in order to what you have to do and be on your mission, whether it's discovering yourself, finding your purpose. And once you discover yourself, you will find your purpose and you will walk in your calling. And that's what I love about where I'm going now, is because I find that my purpose is to tell my story so that others can come forward and tell their story, and not be afraid to tell them their story, because a closed mouth is when you become even more of a victim, when you have a closed mouth and you become even more traumatized and you will never get healed. But once you open up your mouth and never be quiet, when the enemy wants you to be quiet, that's when you will find your power. And I found mine.
So a couple of really key and important point. So first, discover yourself. So like everything, it starts with you trying to understand who you are and where you are after all this trauma, and then find your purpose. And as soon as you find your purpose, it's a kind of freedom. You know where you want to go. But the key one, like you said, is keep talking about it, share your story, speak, because the idea for all the abuser or people involved is they want to shut you down. They want you to stay silent and not talk about it. So it's important that you talk about it, because by talking about it, you might actually rescue somebody from the same situation, which is something extraordinary. And it's very, very, very important. So just to switch a little bit now, you've basically come to have now a normal life after all this trauma, and we've been writing quite a few books. So is writing a kind of something that's also helping you in your therapy in a way, or is it something that you have passion about before, or how did it come up to you?
When I was growing up, I always was informed to write, and writing just was innate in me. I would write down my feelings, write down what I'm going through, write down, and it was a therapeutic circumstance for me, especially when I had no one to turn to. I would just write, just continue to write. But that process had stopped when I got older. Now that I'm older, I'll just write in a book, and I just feel that my purpose and calling is to write my stories. And because I did hear God's voice a long time ago to tell my story and write my story, I know that's my passion. I know that's my purpose. And I'm very, very confident in that. And to be able to tell my story, because this is my truth, the truth. It doesn't matter if anybody agrees or not, but it matters to me because I know what I've experienced. I know deep down what I have endured. And so what I do is I just put it on paper to share to the world and become vulnerable to the world. And that's why I write my story and write books about it.
And writing is a powerful, it's a powerful tool for healing, and we know it, and it can help, especially when you have nobody around you to talk to. So let's have a break to see who we have today. We have quite a prospect of people. We have a Fez Master from Indonesia watching. That's the first time that is watching the show. We have Sophie. Sophie is watching from Cameroon. Hello, Sophie. Thanks for tuning in. And she agrees that, your past does not determine your future. And we all agree with it. You don't want to get, stuck in your past. You want to keep going forward. And like you say, especially when you have faith, you know that God is with you and you just have to follow his calling. So there's Terence. So Coach T is here. Hey, Mireille and Dana, keep sharing and telling your story. It's not for everyone, but someone needs to hear it. And that's what we were just talking about. And that's what you're doing. You keep sharing your story, and you're not going to be shut by your past. You're going to keep going and tell your story. There's Queen Janelle as well. There is so needed, and she share awareness, because it's also, like we discussed just now, it's also to help other people. It's to understand, the risk around, and learn from your experience as well. So Sophie again, yes, true talking is healing, helping others, showing love. And that's really, that's really important to do that. So very, very good. So then you have, a couple of books, and especially the next book coming, which is about your story, and where you really, put everything about it. So can you tell us a little bit, obviously you're not going to tell us everything, like, I told the audience, you're not going to get everything, you will have to buy it, but just to understand, in what context you started and how it's coming, it's coming out.
Yes, when I wrote my story, I wrote in Abandoned But Not Forgotten, which is now released. I share what it's like for certain human beings to be trafficked, such as myself. I share the feelings of it. I share the emotions of it. I take you through the ride, the ups and the downs. I also share what could have happened to me. And I wanted to write that because a lot of kids don't make it out. A lot of people don't make it out, women and children in general. And I made it out just so I can be their voice, be the voice for the voiceless, and be able to give the opportunity for them, saying that, some get served as sexual servitude and their genitals get cut. Some their limbs get broken, acid thrown on their face. Abuse is real. Abuse is real, especially for the ones who don't deserve it. Abuse is real, and control, and just power and control, and to put fear in children and women in general, and what it's like to be imprisoned down here on earth. And it happens a lot in India. And as you can see, it has made its way over to America now. And I'm so glad that I feel such empowerment to tell my story, so that way something can be done about it, especially here in America. And my hope and goal is that something will be done even in India, and that more people who have been experiencing this horrendous experience of trafficking, they can rise above the storm. They can get the help that they need, because there are help out there, and secretly they want to be rescued and they want to be free. And even when they do get rescued and free, then that means therapeutic help that they need shelters, they need food, they need clothing, and whatever it is. So my book is small, but it's very impactful, full of knowledge and a story that people can carry with them. And that's why Abandoned But Not Forgotten, one woman's true story of searching for her birth family, is an impactful book. And I'm not just saying that literally. It just literally took me a long time to write this book, since 2008, because I had to go through the journey of healing before I can finally release this book. And now that I finally released it this year alone, I am very proud to release my story, and because it is just needed. The world needs to hear my story.
And you're right, the world needs to hear it. And this is a global issue. And the numbers are just, it's just staggering. And sometimes we don't realize it, because when you don't hear the stories, you don't actually think that it exists. But then, when we hear the numbers, this is dramatic. And especially in the US, the numbers have been really, going up, because sometimes we think that it's only happening in emerging markets or in developing countries, but it's happening as well in developed countries, and people need to know that. So let's have a break, and we're gonna hear from a lady actually in the US who went through trafficking and managed to get out of it. And just like we were discussing, it also happened in the US.
I'm Tanya Stafford, and I'm a human trafficking survivor. I was sold at the age of 13 by my mom for drugs in Dallas. I was kept for 10 years by my perpetrator. She sold me to one person, and that one person kept me. When I was actually handed over to him, I went into a survival mode of you're gonna survive or you're gonna die. So, and I chose to survive no matter how I had to survive. And that's what a lot of survivors do. It's like you survive the best way that you can. I wasn't hooked on drugs. I wasn't given drugs or anything like that. So I had to learn to detach to survive. And that's what I did. Is that moment was survive or die. In my mind, I chose to survive because I wanted to live. Didn't know if I would live, but knowing that one day that I would be rescued, because I was missing for those 10 years and nobody was looking for me and nobody really knew. While in captivity, I gave birth 3 times at hospitals, 3 different hospitals, and nobody asked any questions until my neighbor moved in and started asking the questions of, she noticed a young girl with an older man. I wasn't so trusting at first, and she just kept being persistent. But it was like she knew that I needed her, and I knew I needed her, but I didn't know who to trust. It's because every time I tried to reach out to somebody, they told him, and then the beatings would be worse. And so I was like, I'm not gonna ever get out of here. And he would always tell me that he could kill me and bury me in the backyard. And so, which was true, because nobody was looking for me. I was just basically, like I fell off the face of this earth. Inside my mind is to, just one day it'll be different. One day it'll be different. And my neighbor was the one day it'll be different. She was that one day. Everybody should be given priority. And I noticed in some communities, like a lot of girls, brown girls, are not given priority. And we have to talk about that. That was my story, is I was missing. And she just happened to notice that I was younger and he was older. And it was like, I can help you. And I was like, you can help me and not tell? And she's like, yeah, I can help you. And so that's when I started trusting her, and I told her everything. And she was able to devise a plan to get me out. And it was like, wow, I'm really going to really live after this. And she's like, you're gonna live, but I don't want you to sit on it. You gotta reach back and grab someone else. And I was like, how do I do that? But at the time I was focused on raising my children after I was rescued. I had a trial. Everything happened the way that it happened, and there was no prosecution because the statute of limitation had ran out November the 27th, 1996. The 10-year window, I had just turned 24, and they took me to court on my birthday, my 24th birthday. And it was basically like, yeah, now how do I live? My children were my hope. They were my reasons for living. They were my reasons for surviving. Because there's life after tragedy. There is so much life after tragedy, and you can live again.
So we are back. We are back with Priyanka talking about human trafficking, and very powerful, testimony from this lady. And just like what you were saying, she said, the lady was telling her, don't sit on it. You have to reach out. You have to tell your story. And she's really adamant that there's life after trafficking. So do you concur that there is life after trafficking? And how did you manage to get back to a normal life? Because obviously it's one thing to be rescued. It's one thing to get out of it. You're still alive, but then you are alive. What do you do? How do you, take care of yourself? Because you're basically entering a new world that you don't know, because you were not free. So how do you find your way?
Right. Restoration is a slow process, but honestly, it's God. It really is. It's God, because to get life, just like that lady was saying, to get life, there is life after trafficking. And it really, there was hope that needed to be spoken in my life. There was life that needed to be spoken in my life, especially when many times I wanted to die and I couldn't die. I did not want to live, and restoration is real. It's real. And where I'm at, I'm in a restored place and I'm progressing in my restoration place. And before, I thought there wasn't even such thing. I thought you're just this dead being where you have no purpose, you have no hope, you have no future. You were just chosen to be just that way, like a cursed human being. And that's what I used to believe. But it really took living words to be spoken in my life. It really took somebody to encourage me. And it really, just like that lady said, it really took somebody to be obedient to God's voice and said, I'm here for you. When nobody else will come help you, I'm here for you. And people to say yes in helping me. And that's what it took, is other people in their obedience to help me when nobody else would.
So would you say that, it's, yes, it's a lonely process when you're there, but when you come out, you can't do it alone. You basically have to get, like you see, you talked about professional help, but at the same time, you need the hope every day, people believing in you so that you can, get strength day by day and start to believe in you, with time and restore yourself, because it's like you said, it's a very long process and it can take time. So, I mean, now that, you're still going through this process, so what are your dreams? What legacy are you working toward despite, all of this have all these, this very traumatic past? So, first of all, where are you in your process? And also, what's up for the future? And what legacy do you want to really, leave here? Because you know your purpose,
Yeah.
where you want to be. And so, what is this legacy?
I just want to walk in obedience. I want to walk in purpose, continue to walk in the journey of releasing more of my stories in a book. I want to go own real estate, and I want to just be able to retire from my 9-to-5 job and walk into telling my story full time. Because I know that that's my purpose. So that's what I am driven to do. And I want to just be able to go out there in the world and just travel and be able to help people, and rescue the battered women and children.
Which is wonderful, because I was saying, the numbers, when I was preparing this show, looking at the number of human trafficking, it's just skyrocketing, and it's a big business because people are making so much money from it, and that's really the hurdle into it, because a lot of people go into it for business, and you become, they don't see the people that they traffic as human being anymore. They see them as commodity, and that's when all those emotions as human are not part of them anymore, because they only see the money beyond human beings. So just, it's been, such an amazing and deep conversation, and sometimes very difficult to, to hold, those emotions when you were, talking about your story and the different things that you went through. So how do people, connect with you? How can they get your book, and anything coming up that you planning to do? that we should be aware of?
Yes, they can connect with me with DanaPriyankaHammond.com. Go to
Okay.
my website, or humantraffickinginc.com. There is my social media on there. There's also my YouTube channel that they can follow me on. I'm looking forward to building my YouTube channel even more with my interviews. And as people follow me, I will eventually do a documentary film where they can go on a journey with me to going back to India and hopefully reconnecting with my family, and as well as reuniting myself and just seeing the life after death experience. And that's what I want people to be able to see, the realness of me and the emotions and what it really takes place to really be a person, because the value of a human being really is a meaningful experience, meaningful journey. The humans are valuable, and they shouldn't be treated as commodity. And when they're treated like commodity and like they're nothing, eventually God turns it around and treats them like they're somebody and someone special, which they are.
Exactly.
And so yeah, you can find like I said, my Instagram, Twitter, anything with social media, Facebook, they can follow me on there, as well as my YouTube channel.
Exactly. So I hope you got all the contact from Priyanka. So go on her website, which is on the screen right now, and you should get all her handle, social media handle. And there's another website that she's recommended as well. So humantraffickinginc.com. So make sure you stay in contact with her. Make sure you connect with her to know more about story, because this is an inspiring story, but also for your own, education, because like we said, and like you could, hear all over this show, human trafficking is an international issue. So it's happening where you are without any doubt. And it's a big business now. So there are people that are treated like commodity somewhere. And if you have this education, and if the story of somebody like Priyanka, then you can act, then you can help. Just like what we saw with this lady on the second video, you can find a way to rescue somebody or to rescue more people, and make sure that some of them get the chance to have a normal life, and get a chance to step into their greatness, and also impact the world, and with their gift. And that's very important. So it's not just a one person problem. This problem is, it touch all of us, and we need to start acting, and it starts with education. So make sure you get the book, and show and then get to know how you can watch the documentary, or even I think there's going to be things available on Priyanka YouTube channel. So make sure you also check on that side. So thank you so much, Priyanka, for being on the Greatness Engineering Hour show. It's been so inspiring. You brought your vulnerability, you brought your knowledge, and you brought your story, which is very important, because it's not always easy to relate those difficult moments, those traumatic moments that we have into our life. And you've been able to really, inspire us today. Thank you very much. And we'll make sure that, everybody watch the show and get to connect with you as well. And for those who are going to get the replay, make sure you reach out. If you have a question, make sure you reach out to Priyanka. And so you can do so on DanaPriyankaHammond.com, or humantrafficking.com. So that's all for today. We have our next show is gonna be in a week, because next week is going to be my birthday week. So I'm not gonna do a lot of shows. So my next show it's gonna be on the 25th. And on the 25th, we're going to have a gentleman who has a very inspiring story as well, because, he's a speaker and he's also an author. He's the author of the book Wealth on Any Income. And Rennie, that's his name, after 2 divorces and a business failure, he was flat broke at the age of 50. And he had to start from scratch with almost nothing. And after learning what was not taught to him, in his financial education, he became a multimillionaire in just a few years. So we're gonna hear from him when we are back on Saturday, and it's gonna be as well, an inspiring story, to listen. So there's also we are continuing our series on gender-based violence and femicide. So we're gonna have a couple of ladies, but that's gonna be after the 25th. We're gonna have a couple of shows on this issue, and we're gonna bring some specialists as well. So we're gonna look at it from an expertise point of view, but also have some stories, some very real story to back the everything. So that's all for today. Like I said, it's been amazing to have you, Priyanka, and thanks for sharing your story. And I wish you a great weekend, and good luck with everything that you're doing, your documentary and your book. For those who make the effort to tune in today, thank you for tuning in, and see you on the 25th, so in a week time, for another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show. Thank you very much, and bye-bye, everybody.